Welcome back to St Anne's here in Higher Openshaw. This podcast, there seems to have been quite a gap between this one and my last one. And you may well ask where I've been and what I've been up to. Well, I have been keeping myself busy. Really, as far back as I can remember, I've always had an interest in music. I kind of call myself a musician. But one of the things that's always interested me over the years, actually, is recording. And I suppose that's really one of the things that's led to these podcasts, in as much as, obviously, it's a recording that's being done, and I have an interest in it. But that interest has now kind of sparked off a little bit, and I have been, at the present time, trying to learn how to record music as well as just one of these podcasts. So I have tried to set up a little music studio. It's nothing fancy by any means, but I am trying to teach myself. And, you know, you go onto a website like YouTube and have a look, and it looks dead simple. But believe me, it's dead not simple at all. And one of the biggest problems that I've got, as with all these things, is the software that is being used. Now, out there on the market, there are lots of different software pieces that you can use within the world of music and studio editing and that kind of thing. One of the ones that's used a lot is a thing called Garage. But you can only use that on the Apple Mac. Having not got an Apple Mac, and I am a PC man, there is also a PC version of it, which is called Mixcraft. And I took a long time looking around all the different ones. There's Mixcraft, and there's Pro Tools, and there's Garage, and there's Audacity, and there's a whole rake of them out there. All quite expensive, it must be said. And I took a long time before I knuckled down and bought one, which I invested in Mixcraft, actually, which was one of the cheapest available. And it's taken me ages to get my head round it. One of the most difficult things I had to do was I have a little synthesizer which you are supposed to be able to use as a controller. In other words, you buy plugins or add-ons, and that keyboard will then play any of the plugins, so you can make it sound like a church organ or a flute or a guitar or a piano. The problem was, it took me 4.5 weeks to figure out how to do that. Anyway, I've done it now. So for those who were at Mass last weekend, one of the things that I did, I'd actually recorded myself singing a hymn called Turn to Me. And I played that hymn during Holy Communion. Now, the reason I did that was I didn't think it would be a hymn that many people here would know. And I thought that if it was played during communion and you listen to it, the next time it's played, you'll be able to join in. It's just one kind of way of learning how to sing bits of hymns that we don't already know, or certainly not familiar with. I did put the number up at the weekend, and 1 or 2 were joining in, so it's obvious to me that at least 1 or 2 people did know the hymn, which was nice to see. But like I said, it's just really a tool for teaching, and that was just one thing that I did last weekend. What I'm hoping to do in the future is to perhaps be able to use a few bits of music which are not copywritten, that have gone out of copyright, some of the old hymns and stuff, and to be able to put them maybe on our Spreaker site, on this podcast site, maybe even to do a CD that we can sell. Perhaps we could do it for the Good Life Orphanage, I've no idea. Perhaps if there is anyone out there who is interested in recording. I came across 2 youngsters at a baptism last weekend, apparently both who were very good musicians, and I'm sure people like that. I would love to get them in. I call myself a musician. I'm not the best guitarist in the world, but I'd love to get a really good guitarist in who could perhaps do some of the trickier pieces for me. That would be really good. But anyone out there, if you're a keyboard player, a guitar player, anyone who's interested in making a record or getting yourself into a digital format through what they call the DAW, which is a digital audio workstation, that's putting the raw voice in through some of the great things you can do with some of the software, then get in touch. I'd love to be able to do that with some people. I am now at last beginning to get my head around the software, although I do think, people, when I've been on the internet, one of the things that said a lot on YouTube is that, people keep asking me, why when I make a recording, does it not sound professional? And most of the answers to that seem to be, it's the microphone. Now, you can pay up to £3,000 for a microphone, but obviously you get what you pay for. But I do have quite a good microphone. It's nowhere near £3,000, believe me. But it's not a bad one for recording both instruments and voice. So, like I said, if there's anyone out there that would like to get involved in that, then please get in touch. I'd be absolutely delighted. So that's really what I've been up to, and that's why at the moment the Spreaker is being put to one side, and these podcasts are getting slightly fewer and fewer. So for the time being, I think that's me. Let me have a quick look in my diary. I did say that I would, on my last podcast, I did say I would put some stuff up for Holy Week and what's happening in and around Easter. But I will do that perhaps later today or perhaps tomorrow. And that will be another podcast of information for you. I will do it perhaps later today because there are things, as I look through my diary, that are happening even this week. So I shall do that later on today and put that podcast out later. So until later, I will say cheerio for now.